Hey folks, it's time for the last Horizon expansion with the large boss miniatures, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Fireclaw. So in a previous video we had a look at the Frozen Wilds expansion for the Horizon board game, and the Fireclaw is kind of an extension of that. We actually had the Frost Claws in the Frozen Wilds, and now we have the bigger daddy, the Fireclaw. So I think this guy would pair very well in a campaign with the Frozen Wilds expansion. So that's my recommendation anyway. Let's take a look at the back. On the back it says, the Fireclaw is an expansion for Horizon Zero Dawn, the board game, allowing the hunters to face this ferocious and unrelenting enemy in a high-octane encounter, either at the end of a new tracking deck or as part of the as part of a hunt the players have already undertaken. Be warned, whether the hunting party's original quarry or an additional challenge worth greater glory in the eyes of the Lodge, this is a machine like none you've encountered before. Can you survive the Fireclaw's furious assault, or will you be laid to ruin by its rampage? Pretty awesome. So we have a usual tile there, and then we have the Fireclaw guy himself. Let's open it up. So we have the usual instruction manual, and we don't have a construction piece this time, or construction instructions, because there's nothing to construct. Underneath that we have the board. So once again, a 4-tile board all connected where you will face the Fireclaw. Under that we have everything else, so let's open this up. Firstly, we have the cards for the Fireclaw's information. So as per usual, we have one for 1 to 2 players and one for 3 to 4 players, with the difference being in the HP. And there's a lot of stuff going on. We've got fire units, power cells, fire sacks left and right. So a lot of components you can tear off of the Fireclaw. Of course, he's fire resistant, and then also he has attack stances as well. So we'll take a look at those in just a second. As per usual, we get a tracking deck. So I think it's a bit of a shame that the tracking deck doesn't use the Frozen Wild tiles. I feel like it wouldn't make much sense to spend the entire game in the desert and then end up fighting the Fireclaw on an icy terrain at the end. I think if you were to do this properly, you would use the Frozen Wilds expansion and then add the Fireclaw at the end. But that's just my opinion. And then, as mentioned, we have 2 behavior decks. So we have the quadruped stance and then we have the biped stance. So this is whether he's on 2 legs or if he's on 4. And he does different things depending on which side he's on, which is super awesome. So for the quadruped side, you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards here. And I guess this one makes him more sort of like going faster. So he's running at you doing melee attacks, hunter in the same square. And then the biped one, I'm guessing, is when he's going to be doing more sort of like ranged attacks. So you can see you've got some ranged attacks there. We've got some melee attacks here. I mean, this is savage. Hunter in 1 square and he'll do 3 melee attacks in a row. That's ridiculous. So yeah, very powerful foe is the Fireclaw. And of course the last thing is the Fireclaw himself. Now a bit like the Frozen Wilds expansion, they really kind of phoned it in with this one, because when you compare him to the other expansions, the Fireclaw isn't much bigger than some of the regular machines. So if you think about the Bellerback from the Sacred Land expansion, this guy, although it's obviously standing on 2 legs, he isn't a whole lot bigger than the Bellerback, so it is a shame that they made him a giant boss. But I guess size isn't everything, and this guy proves his mettle in the things that he does. That being said, I feel like the Fireclaw should have been included within the Frozen Wilds expansion. It seems a little bit of a cop-out to have him be a separate expansion. And it's also one of the more expensive expansions. I think I had to buy this from Steamforce themselves, so it cost about £60, basically just for this, which is a lot of money and not really worth it. So I think if they included it in the Frozen Wilds expansion, it would have made that one a better expansion. On its own, it's not a very good value proposition, but it is a very cool looking miniature, and I do like the whole quadruped biped thing. So there we go, that is the Fireclaw expansion, definitely my least favourite of the large boss expansions. I think I mentioned in the Stormbird video, but the Stormbird is definitely my favourite, and then that would be followed by the Thunderjaw and the Rockbreaker, and then the Fireclaw at the end. But I think the Fireclaw could be pretty interesting to play against. So we're now 11 out of 12. We only have 1 more expansion to go, and it's technically not an expansion, but it is a full box full of Kickstarter exclusives, which is going to be a super interesting video to go through. There's a lot of different things in there. So we'll be taking a look at that next time. Until then, thanks for watching.